Okay, well, again, hello to everybody. That's my second time, talking with your association. I'm very, very happy to be here. So today, as last time, I will begin by a kind of half an hour presentation on a topic which is useful for anybody designing free-to-play games. So what I'm going to cover now will apply to both mobile games, but also anything on Steam or on any other platforms. So we all know, the what I call the awful truth is that most players who play free-to-play games for the first time, they never return. About two-thirds of the players play the game, they discover it on day one, and then they never return. And that's a key issue because attracting players, as you know, is difficult and can be expensive. Furthermore, let's talk about what game designers are doing. And these are the missions of game designers. And all their efforts will be pointless if we lose large numbers of players during the first day. So the consequence is that getting players to return after the first game session must be a key objective for game designers. We game designers, we tend to work on game mechanics. Those are like the long-term architecture for game. And we tend to forget that the beginning is very important. So what I want to point out is that for you guys who are game designers or producers or just indie developers, obviously you have to work on high-level game mechanics that will keep your players engaged for a long time, but you should never forget, the initial first minutes, first session. So you already know me a little bit. I hope, by the way, can you guys see my slides? Okay, all right. So you kind of know me, I've been in the industry for now over 30 years. Initially, I worked a lot on game console. So those are some of the titles I've been working on, usually most of the time as lead. I've done also a lot of mobile games. And more recently, I went back to console games and also Steam. So that's enough about me. The most interesting thing is what is coming now. So first, it's very important to understand the player, okay? So what is the mood of players when they will try a new game? Very important to put ourselves into the head of who you're trying to seduce. Now, first of all, players are looking for a certain experience. This is very important to understand that players, when they see your game for the first time, they will see maybe a game title, a small icons, a trailer, whatever, They say, I want to play this game because I'm looking for something that this game might offer. For instance, in my case, I'm a big fan of submarines. So whenever I see a game talking about submarines, I need to try it out because I'm interested in this experience. And we're all like that, depending on our choices, okay, depending on what we like, then we're going to be attracted to games because the theme is close to what we're looking for. So definitely, players, when they decide to play a game for the first time, it is because they're looking for something which is specific. Now, also they have choices, and players, they know that. That means that if they don't like what they play, they say, who cares? I can try something else. Players who discover the game for the first time also may feel some anxiety. And this is especially true if you're targeting casual gamers, okay? Casual gamers are not experts. So if they launch a game for any chance, and if something goes wrong very quickly, they will just fly away. Of course, it is different from when you are targeting hardcore gamers, but somehow the problem remains the same. And finally, and maybe this is what is so important, is that players, when they try free-to-play games, they don't feel involved, they don't feel engaged in the game because they have not spent a single money on it. This is about psychology. When you spend money on anything, even if it's just like $1 or whatever, even if it's a small amount, unconsciously, you made a choice. You say, I'm buying this thing, I'm buying this game, I'm buying this drink, whatever, because my judgment is it is worth. And the thing is that we don't like to be misjudged. We don't like to admit ourselves that was the wrong choice. Okay. So the result is that when you buy a game, when you put some money in it, even if the game doesn't feel that good, you're going to still play a little bit, okay, to really make sure that the game is worthless. But if you have not spent any money in it, you don't have this rope, this link to the game. So that means that if you start the game, which is free to play, if you don't like it, maybe within 20 seconds you will get out. So this is about player psychology. So the whole thing about what I'm saying is that I think now you start to understand why players are leaving games so easily on day one. We have a question from Muhammad. Hello, Muhammad. It's like going to the gym because you've paid the monthly. Absolutely, yes. This is very good, very good concept, very good similarity. Okay. So let me talk briefly about those curves. Now here's on this graph. You see on the horizontal line, you have the time you spend in a game. It could be days, hours, whatever. Okay. And then on the vertical axis, you've got like a level of intensity. Now, this is the anxiety curve that most players feel when they play a game. When you start to play a game for the first time, anxiety can be high. Why? Because you don't know if you're going to like the game. You don't know if you're going to understand how it works. You don't know if you're going to waste your time. So the anxiety level is pretty high. And obviously, the more you play the game, this anxiety level will go down. Because you learn to play the game, because you discover the gameplay and so on. Okay. And then you got another curve, this one. I call it the excitement curve. And it's the other way. Excitement when you discover a game is very low. You don't know how to play. Usually the first challenges are very bad. There are few mechanics. The story is not there. So the excitement level is very low. And theoretically, the more you progress in the game, the higher this excitement level will go up. And obviously now you understand what I mean, is that the goal of game designers is to make sure that those curves will cross as quickly as possible. Now keep this graph in mind, because that's going to explain some of the things I'm going to explain to you in a few minutes. So this is kind of the theory. Now what I'm going to share with you are what I believe are the best practices that you should implement when you design the onboarding for your game, when you design the first minutes or the first hours of your game. Now, the first best practice is to get your player into the game as fast as possible. And again, remember, everything I'm going to say now, all the best practices I will share with you are applicable to both casual games and also hardcore games on Steam or console, whatever you know. So best practice number one, get your player into the game as fast as possible. Let me show you an example. This is Criminal Case. Criminal Case, now it's on mobile, but it used to be a Facebook game. And it's a game about, as you can guess, criminal investigation. And it's a casual game. So let's take a look at what players discover when they play the game, okay, when they launch the game for the first time. So first, you got the splash screen. Now look at it, this is not trivial. Look at the artwork. Look at the details, like you've got this yellow line, this is something that you see in all the TV series, and look at the characters, they're not they look realistic, they don't look specific like superheroes, they're really realistic, okay? All right. So this is okay. That means that tells the player this is what the game is all about, okay? Then this is the second screen. Here's what you have. You've got this character. Sorry, it's in French. It's an officer Pascal. A young lady has been found, dead at the entry of the city. Let's go and investigate the crime scene. Okay. So, and you've got a few pictures. So we can see that the location where the lady was found is kind of some kind of abandoned area. And we can see the body of the woman, her throat has been slit. She's blonde and she has miniskirts. All right. Just to make it a bit more spicy. Let's look at the third image. That's it. We are now on the crime scene, and now we are discovering the gameplay. This is what we call a hidden object, very classical, very effective with casual gamers. And that explain how it works. You've got a list of objects to find, and you just need to click on the object. And here there's no choice. So you understand very quickly what to do. Okay, this is the third screen. Then the fourth screen, well, they say, well, okay, in case you get stuck, there's a help button. That's it. Notice they don't explain you how it works. Doesn't matter. Okay. The goal here is just to reassure the player to say, hey, if you get stuck, don't worry, you can get help. Remember, we are targeting casual audience. Okay. And then that's it. On the fifth screen, you end the game. Now it's up to you to find the object. So, of course, the gameplay is very simple. Yes, this is the first crime scene to investigate. This is casual games, okay? But nevertheless, you are getting into the game. And if you click randomly, you won't find the solution. So that's what I mean by get the player into the game as quickly as possible. What is making game fun? We all know that. It's a challenge, okay? Even if this challenge is easy, this is what is making the game fun. So if you want people to be engaged in the game, offer them the gameplay as quickly as possible, even if it's simple. So why is it the best practice? Well, first of all, it delivers the promise that you've made. Remember what I said earlier. When I decide to play a game, I'm attracted by its theme. And this game is making me a promise. Hey, Pascal, do you like submarine games? This is the game about submarine, So that means that as soon as I launch the game, I want to experience what I was baited by, you see? So it's exactly the same thing. If you do a game, if you promise to players, look, this is a game about, I don't know, like medieval Japan, then you must put the players as soon as possible into, an atmosphere that will tell the player, yes, I'm really into medieval Japan. Okay, we have another question again. What if the game requires the tutorial section? Okay, would that be considered a barrier between the game and the player? This is a very good point. For some games, you need to have a tutorial. So I'm going to show you very soon, share with you a tip that can allow you, to include a tutorial and still, avoid the situation we see in certain games. But you have a very good point. So let's continue, okay? And obviously, the other reason it's the best practice is that you want to start the game, you want the rule gameplay to kick in as possible, because gameplay is what makes game engaging. Okay, let's look now at best practice number 2. Add simple storytelling. And that brings an answer to Muhammad. Now, the thing is that, again, I'll take an example. This is Boom Beach. Boom Beach, it's the third game published by Supercell. Supercell, super experts in free-to-play gaming, experts in a game with some tactical dimension. And here, basically, it looks a bit like Clash of Clans, but this is different. This is more hardcore-ish, and the theme is like modern combat, okay? So let's take a look at how the game starts. So this is the first image, we discover the base, and here we've got this character that comes in and say, hey, look at that. Enemies are coming in. Ooh, there's some stress level coming up. All right, okay? And he's the enemy. I'm Lieutenant Hammerman at the back guard, Well, obviously, this guy looks like a Nazi, He's very, very clearly, this is the kind of guy, you want to defeat. All right? Then you repel. I'm not showing you all the screens, okay? I'm just showing the main one. So you repel the attack, and then, you say, now you need to fight back. So they explain to you, okay, you need to have a landing boat. You put soldier in it, okay? Then you select the target. There's only one here, okay? Your landing boat disembark the troops. You destroy the enemy base. And then, when you've done, then you've got this nice lady, coming in. Hey, you serve me, blah, 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 and so on. And again, she's blonde. Okay. So this is really simple storytelling, okay? Why did they do that? Because obviously, when you play the game, the story doesn't exist anymore, okay? Now, why did they put some storytelling? Well, the benefit of storytelling is that when you need to push a lot of information to the player, like when you need to have some kind of tutorials, which is the case here, okay? Now, if you wrap it in some storyline, it's making it easier Okay, why? Because we are all attracted by stories, all of us, no matter how old you are, who you are, and so on. We have we human beings, we've got a natural attraction to story. So when you wrap up the beginning of your game with a nice storytelling, then it's going to attract players. They will want to know a little bit more. So they will do your tutorial. Even if the story is not that good, it doesn't matter. It is just one way to attract. Furthermore, having a story gives meaning to what you do. So that's how they solve the problem. How can we make the beginning interesting when we have a long tutorial? And that's one possible answer. So why is this adding storytelling a best practice? Because as I say, most people are attracted by stories. And then also it helps players to wait until the more interesting gameplay kicks in. So in that case, for Boom Beach, they have these like short stories, and then after that, that's it. You never hear about it. You just focus only on the core gameplay. And the last point is that sometimes it helps. It gives a purpose to the player. Here, the purpose is noble. You are saving the poor villager, so you feel good about yourself. Now, best practice number 2: offer real gameplay and challenge. And here you see you have underscore real. Now, this is different from the previous example. Another question, okay. This is generally applied for the casual audience on the mobile platforms. It depends. Too often, the storytelling is very bad. Okay, so it's almost worthless. So what I'm trying to say is that if you need to add a storytelling, try to make it good. So best practice number 3: offer real gameplay and challenge. Okay. Now, again, this example, it's a racing game called Real Racing 3. It was the mobile game published by Electronic Arts on iOS and Android. So I'm going to show you what you see when you discover the game. So first, you've got a nice video. You see those nice racing car, just going high speed on a racetrack. It's a video. The first thing you see that this is high res, high quality. Okay. Then after a few seconds, you go into the car. So right now, it's the game engine is working, and we are in the car, so we can see, the background, passing by. All right, okay. So you understand that you are in one of those cars that you saw previously. Obviously, this is a Porsche, the kind of car everybody dream of owning. And it's kind of pretty exciting, okay. And because the race is going on, because the cars are moving, it creates a sense of excitement. Then they explain to you how to play the game. It's very simple. You take your phone, and you steer the car left and right. Then there's another slide that explains to you how you change the camera. You can have like a third view camera. I think they explain to you how to slow down because acceleration is automatic. Okay, and once you've seen those 2 or 3 screens, then that's it. You are into what is called a rolling start. That means the cars are rolling, and then you've got the colors red to green, and then the green is on. That's it. You are in the race. And you are in the race, actually driving your car, but you are racing other people. Look at that. You see? Every car has a driver. So you are in multiplayer. So you can imagine immediately the excitement level is going all the way. Not only because it's a race, but because it's multiplayer. Okay. And we all know that this is why multiplayer is so popular among publishers, studios, and players, because multiplayer creates strong emotions. I'm sure you guys all play multiplayer games. When you win against a real human, you got the sweet taste of victory because you've beaten a real human. And when you lose, you feel bitterness. So in any case, you live strong emotions. This is why multiplayer is so effective. And here, this is what they do. They put you in a race against real players. Now, what you don't know is that, those are ghosts. Those are not real players, okay? They behave like real players. They have real players' name, but they are ghosts. Okay, so the result is that the race is pretty easy. Okay, but you don't know that. So the result is that you finish the race and say, "Wow, this is so exciting! I beaten the other guys." And then you start to go into the real game, where this time when you'll be racing against real players. So you see what they've done, and this is very smart, is that they gave you within a few minutes, all the excitement of real gameplay. We had another question also regarding what are some similar storytelling that will mix gameplays. Oh, that's a big topic. I'm not going to talk about that today. Actually, that's going to be the topic of a talk I'll give at GDC. Not at GDC, at Gamescom. So forgive me, but I'm not going to cover that because it take another half an hour to do that. So why is it the best practice? Because, as you know, challenge creates excitement. And this is how we get people enthralled in game, because they are excited. Now, best practice number 4 is more difficult. Make your game stand out. Make your game different from anything else in the market right away. Look at this example. This is smash hit from a Swedish studio called Mediocre. Now, this is how the game looks like. This is the splash screen. Wow. Just by looking at that, you say, wow, this is different. I've never seen that before. Okay? So, and when you play the game, you discover the gameplay is different. I'm just going to play a small trailer. And I hope you can listen to the sound, because the soundtrack is great as well. And so on. So you see, not only the splash screen shows you a game which nobody has seen before, but on top of the gameplay is unique. So obviously, you understand why this is best practice, because players are looking for new experiences. Players are very curious. When you bring players a new theme or a new gameplay, or maybe like a unique graphic and audio style, or a compelling story, they will look into your game. Of course, it's a difficult advice to put in practice. Okay, I know that. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is that when we design games, we all know we try to put a unique feature. We try to have a USP. Okay, the thing is that if your USP is something that doesn't show up on the first screens, it's not good. If you need to wait like 5 or 10 years of gameplay to discover, this game has this new feature, or this is different from what I know, it's too late. So when you design the unique feature that will get your game different from the others, try to make sure, it shows right away when players discover the game. Oh, I see we got a comment from Cyan on Smash Hits. Yes. Okay. Now, best practice number 5, show players the scope of the game. Show them how big the game is. Again, I will take an example from Boom Beach. So Boom Beach, there are games like that. You know them. You have a base and you can build construction and so on. Okay, but here what they do is that from the very start, they shows you all the constructions you can do. Of course, all of them are locked. And you understand that if you want to unlock, like the mortar or the machine gun and so on, you need to level up. Okay, but at least you get an idea of all those exciting things you can unlock. And why do they do that? It's like it's like saying to the players, look, if you play with me, if you play with my games, you're going to have a lot of exciting things to unlock. So it is one way, to help the players project themselves into the game. Another example, it's probably one of the best I know, it's World of Tank. This time it's on, initially it's a PC game, then they made a home console and tablet version. Now, this is about, obviously, tank combat. And when you start the game, you start with a very little simple tank. Like for instance, this is a French tank to begin with. Okay, but then very quickly you discover that you can unlock more tanks, and soon enough you discover the progression tree, and it looks like that. You see, so you've got, and this is a bit old. I mean, now there are more nations, but you see there are different nations. Each of them has a progression tree, and you see all the tanks you can unlock. And obviously, among those, you got some exciting ones, like the U.S. Sherman or the Tiger and so on. So tanks that you want to have. But in any case, you discover all the tanks, and you guess that they're all different from each other. So that's another way to tell players, look, if you start playing with me in my game, you can have months and years of fun. Actually, I played this game for about 3 or 4 years, nearly in a row, nearly every day. So why is the best practice? Well, because it tells players how much they will get out of the game if they continue to play with you. Best practice number 6, give players good reasons to return. So how to do that? Well, it's by building your games around what we call open loops. An open loop is very simple. It's made up of 2 components, an objective and a reward. For instance, if you build 3 fields, then you will unlock the windmill. We've seen that in many games, all right? That's an open loop, pretty short, okay? Then when you've done it, they say, great, okay, you have now unlocked the windmill. Now, if you built 3 windmills, then you will unlock the bakery. Okay? So you've got another open loop. This time it's a bit longer. Okay? And when you've done it, then you discover, okay, now you have unlocked the bakery, but also you have maybe unlocked, I don't know, like the merchant, whatever. So you see, you've seen that in many games. We call them open loops, okay? And you can imagine, how big they can get. Now, why are open loops so effective? Okay. The first is that they rest on human psychology. We tend to enjoy completing things. And remember the example I said. When you will build 3 fields, you unlock the windmill. And when you have 3 windmills, you unlock the bakery. What does it mean? It means that when you have completed the first loop, you've got another one coming in. But this one is partially completed. Because what is the second loop? It is building 3 windmills, but you already have 1. So that means that your second loop is partially completed. You see, and we human beings, we don't like to have things uncompleted. So this mechanism is somehow, pushing players, to keep completing loops and so on. The other reason is that their completion usually do not rest on skill, but on persistence, on farming. So of course, in some games, when you are very skilled, you get plenty of points, plenty of money, whatever, and you can complete the loops faster. But in any case, even if you're not very good, you will still earn the resources needed to complete the loop. That's why, also open loop are great because they can adapt to any kind of player. And finally, this is also important, they unlock rewards that improve the player's experience. They don't only, when you close the loop, they don't give you like a reward, like a medal or a title. No, they unlock new game features. And players know very well that when they unlock new features, they increase the gameplay. So for those reasons, open loop are fantastic way, to engage your players in the short, medium, and long term. So try to have open loops, as soon as you can. Now, those is a summary of the best practices, so you know them all, I'm sure, okay? What I'm trying to tell you is that when you design a game, when you design onboarding, try to apply as many of those best practices as possible. And just to complete, I will also now talk about the worst practices, okay? The things that I recommend never to do. So first of all, Worst practice number 5, don't ask players to register before they have actually tried the game. Now, I've seen that on certain games. I think it's an error. Okay, especially if you ask like questions, whatever. So resist the temptation. Let the players discover the game, and once they play a certain time, then offer them to register. If possible, give them a reward if they do so. And obviously, this is especially true in the West. Like to give you a small story, like a few years ago, I worked for a Saudi company, and we work on a games for children. And so in the company, we had people from Pakistan and England and France and so on. So we are like a mixed developers. And what people have done, the people in Saudi, is that when they started to develop the game, they asked players to enter their phone number right away, okay, for registration. And when in the West we saw that, we say, hey, maybe that works in Saudi Arabia and Middle East, it will never work in the West now. And we had to tell them that because they wanted to publish their game in Europe and in the US. So this is something you just never do. Okay, you can eventually ask your players to give those kind of details, but never when you start. When they discover the game. The only exceptions are obviously games that require a client that players need to download. Worst practice number 4. Don't start the game with a boring tutorial. We all know that, okay? So it's to the point where if your game requires a complex tutorial, maybe you should change the game system, okay? Especially if you are targeting, like a casual audience. If there's no choice, obviously, try to make it short, okay? And obviously avoid pop-ups like this one, okay, which is pointless. This is explaining to you that you can have friends. I mean, at that stage, players don't care about it, okay? So don't start the game with a boring tutorial. A good tutorial, it's relevant, so that means that it only covers what is essential. It makes sense, so it talks about players can immediately understand and test, and it is as short as possible. Worst practice number 3, don't put forward the shop, because it's going to send players wrong messages. That like playing this game will require money, or you are rapacious, okay? So don't be too eager to generate revenue from your app. We all want to do that, obviously. But, there's a time to tell players, look, now you can improve the game, by spending so, but don't push it right away, to the player. You are going to turn some players off by doing that. Worst practice number 2, don't frustrate players before they get a test for the game. For many free-to-play games, as I say, they've got those open loops, they are great for getting players engaged in the game. But eventually, you need to create some frustration. Otherwise, you'll never be able to monetize the game. The question is that how soon should you create this frustration? Well, don't create it too soon, okay? Allow players to play the game maybe half an hour or 1 full hour before they say, now I cannot progress anymore, you see? So it depends on the game genre, but be generous. And finally, and the worst practice number 1, okay, and that's going to be my conclusion, is that don't offer a boring game experience. We are game designers, we are game developers. I mean, people will play our games because they are exciting, because they offer good gameplay. So never forget that. Now, that sounds obvious to you, but I see, because I test myself many games, and I see so many games who look exciting but are so boring. And this is sad, okay? Because usually they have the right theme, they have the right mechanism, but the way it's packaged make the game look like it's a boring experience. And this is really unfortunate, because those guys are kind of doing copying what other games are doing, but they're not doing it well. So the result is that they have ultra long tutorials. They've got no challenge, they've got ultra long tutorials. So the whole thing is that it makes a boring game. So that's basically what I wanted to introduce to you. I'm going to answer your questions. I just want to complete by saying that if you're looking for help to design your games, I've published 2 video courses on the Udemy platforms. The first one, it explains, gives you the basics, how to build a strong gameplay and how to develop like a professional grade game system. And the second course, which is very recent, it explains for you game designers what are your tasks throughout the development. From the moment you got the first idea to the moment the game is released, what are the different tasks of game designers, what kind of document should you do, what are your tasks and so on. So whether you are indie developers or whether you are working in a studio as a game designer, I think this course could be helpful to you. And because it's a special day today, I have prepared like a discount coupon for you guys. Okay, I will share it with you. I don't know where I can do. Maybe in the chat. Okay, and this coupon takes you to the game, takes you to the course, and it offers the very best discount that the platform allows me to give. Okay. And Udemy is a great platform, but many constraints. And here, this one, it's the best discount I can give. It's only valid for 5 days, but that's the best I could do. So I'm sharing here the link, and possibly we'll try to share it somewhere else on the site. Now, folks, that's it for me. So I'll be absolutely happy to answer your questions. Now let me just.
Thanks a lot, Pascal. That's it's such a pleasure to have you again today. I mean, especially it's been like maybe 2 or 3 months, perhaps. But from my own personal experience, I had the pleasure of trying the first course, an amazing course, by the way. Get a chance to go through the course, and as well the second course also that came up a few weeks ago. I'm certain that with the topic that we covered for today, some people, I believe that was specific a little bit on the casual games, and honestly, yes, a lot of people would really benefit from that when it comes to understanding the casual players, because people tend to think, game developers or game designers think as more of the mature audiences and the people who have tried to go through a lot of games, the hardcore game players maybe. So maybe you can give a few minutes for the people here to maybe share some questions. We do have a question that just came up here. What sort of mobile games are popular in the West currently? Storytelling packed with action or simple casual ones? And what are some notable examples?
Okay, well, actually, yes, there are 2 cases. Okay, first of all, obviously, casual puzzles are still very popular. Those like Merge or Unscrew. Those games, they work nearly everywhere, and they're still very popular. That's on mobile. Okay. Now, also another thing which is increasingly popular are mobile native game, but multiplayer games. Okay, games like Mech Arena. Let me write it down. Which is a mobile multiplayer 5 versus 5 combat game. It's really real multiplayer. It's very hardcore-ish. Okay, very hardcore. But you can tell it is not a port from PC or console. It is designed natively for mobile. So this is interesting because that means that mobile now, it is not just for casual players, not anymore. Now you've got an increasingly number of gamers, including hardcore gamers, who now are also playing on mobile because they find, the same kind of thrill that they would on a PC or a console. But the games have been adapted. So this is, I think those are 2 trends that I see now on the most popular games mobile in the West.
You have another question here from Utam. How to link story progression through game tasks, objectives in a way that feels earned by the player?
Okay, well, again, it depends on the kind of game. Um, Now, I assume you talk about a game which is story driven, okay, which is not necessarily on mobile. You know, most of those games are rather seen on console or on PC. Now, if you want indeed, you know, to link the story progression to game task, I think the good way to do it is to do what Red Faction have done on The Witcher 3. Witcher 3, you've got the main quest, okay, but then you've got also some side quests, and those side quests are very interesting because it is not short quests like go there and kill the wolves. No, it's usually much longer. You meet interesting non-playing characters, sometimes characters, you know, who are themselves in facing drama, personal drama, you know, you could, you know, and because you interact with those people, because you do quests for those people, you know, when you complete the quest, it is not just, I've completed the quest and I have learned something. No, it is just, I have helped somebody, you know. And that's, I think, the best way to create a link between the way the player has to progress in the game and the task that you give to the player. It is through, you know, the variety of interesting quests, whether those are side quests or the main quest, but it's going through the NPC. You know, you talk to NPC, they're facing real issues, real drama. You help them out, and that's how you can bond the two together. That's my vision of
I
it.
believe I've missed one question from Fuad. Which would be what's your advices on making a game fun? Is it testing your game with many people or making as much as possible prototypes?
Well, first of all, let's define fun in game. Now, I'm a game designer, you know, so my definition is very restricted. A game is fun when there's challenge. That's it. Of course, the challenge must be related to the audience. Very important. But for a game to be fun, there must be challenge. Fun doesn't come from nice graphics or fun dialogues. No, this is kind of nice to attract you to attract you. Okay, but once you get into the game, this is not what will keep them engaged. What will keep you engaged in the game, what will get you to come back to the game and play over and over, it is the challenge. Okay, so to me, this is what the fun is all about. It's that. It's a challenge.
Some other questions came by. Do you design game story based on mechanics or design mechanics based on the story? And how would you approach it?
Um, hmm,
It's both ways.
good
Yeah.
points. Well, can go both ways. No. It's very. I mean, that's an issue which I love storytelling in games. You know, so I've been thinking about that. Well, I think it can go both ways. Okay, now let's imagine that you say, okay, in my game, or let's say you need to seduce a publisher. Okay, and publishers they don't like to take risk. You know, for them, good storytelling is expensive and does not necessarily make the game good. So in that case, what you do is that you design the game mechanics first, okay, and then you build the storytelling around. All right, but then if you think, well, in my game, the story is what is the most important. People will play the game because of the narrative dimension. So in that case, it's the other way around. In that case, that once you've got the story, you select the mechanism that will match the story. Like this is what they've done in Life is Strange, for instance, you know, or Detroit Becomes Human, you know. Story first, and then you select the mechanism that go around. But again, if you need to seduce a publisher, this is a dangerous way. It's not it's not a coincidence that almost no publisher publishes those kind of narrative games because they're very risky, very expensive, and they don't necessarily make that much money. So that's, I think, the answer to the question. So depending on what is the priority for you, you go one way or the other.
I believe Moment here had came by the first course that you released because he's using almost all of your synonyms. Can polish or juicing of the save a mediocre core gameplay to produce a fun game?
No, no, no. They contribute to the enjoyment for sure, but no, they cannot replace poor gameplay and the lack of challenge.
So we do have Noor here is going the extra mile for the question of is it based on the mechanics or the story? Of like he's saying, Sekiro is a game that designed the mechanics first. Metal Gear Solid 2 designed the story, then the mechanics around it. Both of games are like for hardcore gamers, which I think they rely heavily still on the core gameplay.
I'm sorry, what's
Yeah,
the
they're
question?
just driving some examples here, like, but like, I'm not really certain they're really asking a question here. They're just putting an example around Sekiro being around the mechanics and Metal Gear Solid about the story, then the mechanics that's built around it.
Metal Gear is probably the kind of unique example of a game that does both at the same time. They give both are as important because gameplay is excellence in Metal Gear in general. Whether it's combat against bosses or the stealth and so on. So those projects manage to do the two at the same time in parallel, but this is very difficult. So what I described to you, it's more like the situation that most studios are facing. When your budget is limited, you have to make one choice. You have to decide, I will go this way. This is my priority. And that's what my advice is adapted to. But if you've got a limited budget, then you can go crazy and try to do everything at the same time. It's very difficult, but why not? So that's why Metal Gear, interesting example, but it's kind of the
it is a Hideo Kojima gameplay, like built around the story after all. I actually have one personal question here. If someone did go through the two courses that you released, and like someone just looking to go to the extra mile to just get their game ready, is there any recommended online material, or maybe you might have some other releases to go through game design to get their first game released, like for indie developers like most of us here in EGD?
Well, no, I mean, right now I don't have any more, or at least, I've got plenty of materials and plenty of things in my head, but I don't have any. I started, to work on my next course, to be honest, at a low level. Okay, it's going to be on level design. It's going to be a big one, so I started to work on it. But the thing is that it takes so much time to think about it, to write. I tried every word, is carefully selected, it's a lot of work. So, and I like to this work of, I can I say, of course I can answer questions, but I do a better job when I have time to think about what I want to say. So that's why, I take so much time. And maybe that's why those courses, are liked by my students, because, everything is condensed and so on. So that's why I cannot go much further than that. To answer your question,
definitely do have or are like filled with some of the juices of gameplay info and core gameplays info that's been full of on the Udemy courses that we have here. So guys, if you do have any other questions for Pascal, like we can maybe give or if Pascal allows it another 5 minutes to just maybe get to the conclusion of today's talk. We do maybe have one more question here from Mohammed. Where
Yes.
can we reach out to you in case we have additional questions?
Okay, so either on Discord, my Discord is always open. So try to send me a direct message. That's much better. Okay, that's one way. Or I can also leave you my email. It's no problem. I can share it with you guys. And if you, for some reason, just completely lose everything, you just type my name is Google, and you will go to my website, and there, you've got contact, and you can contact me. So, or LinkedIn. So I accept always the invitation from people in the game industry. So you can so type my name, and I will very happily, accept you in my network or in yours, whatever. So there are plenty of ways, to get in touch with me. So. And don't hesitate, okay, guys. That's the thing that I'm trying to. I think I've reached the time when now I'm sharing my experience. It's time for me to share. So I do have. I'm to be honest with you, I'm spending more time in my life for things which to me are important, like writing those courses. I'm also working on a novel. I'm writing a novel now. So those are things I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I have some time. Okay. So if you guys have any query, any question, feel free to drop me a line.
That sounds amazing. Do we have any special info about the novel that you're creating for today, or is it still a work in progress?
No. Oh, no. Well, I'll probably communicate somehow, but
I understand.
Yes,
I understand. I'm just having joking around. Um,
I'll try.
So again, for today, guys, for very last few minutes, we're just going through about questions on the topic of today, which is keeping your player past 5 minutes of gameplay. We did introduce some examples on the best practices and the worst practices, 5 of each. The worst being never don't over a boring game experience. Well, it really comes down to that one. I do think that we can be concluding here at the moment. But again, guys, if you have any questions, you already have access to Pascal's email and the Discord channel and everywhere. He's telling you guys just come over and have some talk. Don't worry, he's around, okay? And thank you again, Pascal, for really having a wonderful day to.
See you again.
Absolutely. It's always going to be a pleasure to have you here, and I'm looking forward to our next talk here. Yeah, absolutely. Amazing to have you here today, Pascal. And yeah, that would be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for making the day happen, and goodbye. Have a wonderful day, everyone.